walking the serpentine path, following the footsteps of the ancestors, walking the serpentine path, making our way back home. Hey ya, hey, hey ya, ho, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey, hey ya, ho. Following the serpentine path. Life. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Serpentine Path podcast. My name is Claire Wadiasid, and I'm your host. And today's episode is part of this ongoing series where I have invited women to come onto the show to share about their birth control stories, either with the hormonal birth control pill, hormonal injection, the hormonal IUD, the copper IUD, and to speak on what their experience was like and what life is like now. Today's guest is a very special guest that I am so honored to finally be with. Not technically in person, but it feels like we're in person in ceremony and in circle with her, Claire Campolo. So, to give a little bit of context, Claire found my work a couple months ago via Substack. And then she followed me on Instagram and she reached out and she was like, "Hey, fellow Claire, we have some overlap." And I was like, "Whoa, what do you mean?" And she was like, "I've also been drinking with the Kofan lineage, drinking the medicine of ayahuasca, yahe, which is the Colombian brew of ayahuasca, for a decade now, I believe. And I've drank with some of the elders that you've drank with." And I was like, that's crazy. No one drinks with the Kofan people. Like when you hear, especially Westerners from the States, talking about drinking ayahuasca, predominantly the lineages that are like the most accessible are like the Shipibo or the Iwanua from Brazil, from Peru. And I was kind of like, what? This woman named Claire, who's also drank with the Kofan, like she knows my teachers, like this is crazy. We recently found out, I was a dancer. I mean, I'm still a dancer, but I'm not a professional dancer anymore. And she like posted a picture of her like dancing on the Golden Gate Bridge. And I was like, wait, you were a dancer? And she's like, yeah, I spent all this time at Lions Ballet in San Francisco. And I was like, I spent time at Lions Ballet. Like the threads are threading. The weavings are being woven, and it's really cool to have her on the show. So thank you so much, Claire, for coming on. Thank you for contributing to the collective womb consciousness call that is being brought forth with this class that I'm teaching, the Natural Birth Control series, starting October 5th. It is a real blessing to have you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, it's amazing to have so much crossover with you, not only fellow Claire, fellow Kofan lover, Yahe lover, fellow ex Lines dancer, but now also fellow, womb keeper and student and teacher of womb wisdom and the lineage of wise women. So thank you so much for having me. A little bit of background on me is, yes, I was a dancer, and my dancing took me to San Francisco. And when I was about 21 years old, I was living in San Francisco and in college and dancing. And it was around this time that I kind of took it upon myself to go on birth control. I was very, I guess, just young and uninformed and thought that I was being responsible, right? Like if I'm going to be sexually active and I'm not ready to be pregnant, then I should be on birth control. So yeah, I took it upon myself, started taking birth control. I was maybe on birth control for 2-ish years in my early 20s. And it got to this point where I felt really disconnected from myself. And I had this intuition that I just didn't want to be taking something every day for the rest of my life, or like open-endedly. And I didn't feel comfortable with getting an IUD inserted. And I felt like I just wanted to sort of clear the slate a bit. Um, at the time, too, I was also taking SSRIs. And I was feeling similarly about that, where I was like, you know what, this isn't really resonating with me. I don't like the idea of popping pills every day. Um, and so I tapered myself off of them. And little did I know that within the year of me, stopping contraceptives and SSRIs was when I got invited to ceremony and to drink the yahe for the first time. And it wasn't consciously planned. I didn't know that I was going to drink yahe that year, but it is really beautiful when I look back, like in retrospect, that my body and my spirit were sort of like calling me to get really clear and to really prepare for the wisdom of the yahe to come into my life so that I could walk with it in a good way and receive it in a good way. And it, of course, changed my life in the best way possible. I mean, I think those first few years after drinking medicine for the first time, I compare it to like a snow globe. Like it feels like the snow globe of my life kind of got turned upside down and like shaken around. And everything I thought I was, everything I knew, all of the pain that I sort of subconsciously identified with was up for questioning. And along with that, though, the really beautiful thing that I think many plant medicines do this, but in particularly I've felt it with the yahe, is that it sort of coaxes you into wanting to live more closely with the rhythms of nature and wanting to live more closely with a natural way of being. And so I think ultimately one of the greatest gifts that the yahe brought into my life was, just wanting to live a good life. And to do that is to be in rhythm with the natural things. And so I say that because, right, what was leading up to it was that I was getting off of birth control. And I think, if we do want to live a healthy life, it's about not doing things that are harming us. And like I said at the beginning, I didn't really know that birth control was harmful. I thought that I was, being responsible and not wanting to get pregnant at a young age. But as we know now, with all of the research that's coming out and all of the discussions that are being had about hormonal birth control, is that it's not physically good for women. I mean, we can talk about it from a multidimensional standpoint, right? But from the physical biological perspective, it's not good for women. It actually is a carcinogen. It causes cancer. And then, if we're going to take it from a multidimensional perspective, the womb is the seat of our power. The womb is where everything originates for us as women. It is intimately connected with our nervous systems and our psychology and all of our other internal organs. And so if we're cutting ourselves off from understanding the natural rhythms of our womb, how will we be in touch with the rest of who we are as multidimensional beings, right? And Claire reached out to me because I had been sharing recently about, I recently started chiropractic school. It's been sort of a long time coming, like a long journey that's brought me here, a spiraling path. And I'm really starting to contemplate, like, what does it mean to walk my talk, like as a chiropractic doctor? And I'm sure this can apply to anyone that's in a healing profession, whether you're an acupuncturist or a doula or a nutritionist, fill in the blank. If you're guiding people into a more holistic and natural way of healing and understanding themselves, then there's a certain congruence that you need to walk with, right? You're not going to be living a sedentary lifestyle or eating crappy food or smoking cigarettes or, doing these things that we know aren't healthy or lead to a healthy, happy way of life. And I fully believe that birth control falls under that. And that, if, the saying goes that you can only take people as far as you have walked, right? And so if you're going into a healing profession, if you're holding space for people in some way, but you are not in touch with your womb's natural cycles and how to attune yourself to them with diet and mineral intake and lifestyle, micronutrients, then how will you be able to walk with that person that is going to need your help one day, right? I think too that like those of us in healing professions understand the maybe dark side of the Western medical industrial complex. Western medicine certainly has its place and it can be great for certain things in emergencies or for diagnosis. But when it comes to true lifelong care and seeking wellness and education, many people get gaslit or don't get given what they need. I've experienced it. I've experienced it for sure. And, one of the things that we prepare for in stepping into being a space holder and a natural doctor is that there will be women that come to you after being gaslit or after being given a scary diagnosis and no answers or answers that they don't want. And so being able to show up and offer women care from a place that's embodied, I think requires us as women to understand our womb and her cycles and like not silence her with synthetic hormonal birth control.
The first thing that always comes up in these conversations around birth control is that a lot of the time women will put themselves on it. Like there's kind of two camps. There was what happened with me the first time that I got put on the pill when I was 16, which was for hormonal acne. And a lot of women get put on it for hormonal acne, for irregular cycles, for really heavy bleeding, for really painful cycles, for like hormonal issues. And they say, oh, the pill will like regulate all of that, which is not true. It doesn't regulate anything because it literally shuts your menstrual cycle down. You don't get a real menstrual cycle when you're bleeding. It's a hormonal withdrawal bleed. You're not ovulating. And ovulation is like literally the biological but also spiritual oracle of your body because it is your life force energy as a woman. It is like this seed of life that is being released from your ovaries. It is being brought into the home, like as you said, like the seat of power in your body. And it is capable of creating the life of a child, but it is also capable of creating the life of everything else, like the life of your creativity, the life of your projects, the life of your business, the life of your relationships, the life of your connection to God, the life of your connection to the land, the life of your connection to the waters, to your ancestors, to the elemental beings. Everything, all of that is only capable of being tapped into when you as a woman are cycling naturally throughout your fertile years. And so when we shut that off, you completely sever a woman from all of that. And a big thing that also comes through, right? There are women who get put on it for, the lie of like it will regulate your cycle. But then there's the other camp of women when I went back on the birth control hormonal pill. Um, I was in a serious relationship and I was like, I am going to be having sex as an adult woman and I want to be responsible. And so a lot of women, that has been the pathway onto it of I want to be responsible. And that's an honorable and beautiful thing that women are feeling. I want to be a responsible, initiated adult woman. and I want to hold reverence for the fact that I'm not ready to have a child. The unfortunate thing is that the only pathway that we are offered to true feminine responsibility is the birth control pill. We're not offered the actual education that is our birthright, that in every single one of our mother lines would have been the spiritual and sexual and reproductive education that we would have received as women. Of this is how you learn how to track your cycle. This is how you learn how to know when you're in your ovulatory phase, when you are ovulating. This is how you know when you could possibly get pregnant and when you can't. These are the plants that you can work with to prevent an unplanned pregnancy. If you do, for some reason, accidentally get, sperm in your vagina during your fertile window, you have time, you have spaciousness. It's not an emergency, there's no urgency. Like, you actually have 2 whole weeks to decide how you're going to respond. No women know that. No, I was not taught this. I taught myself this when I was, I guess, 24 or 25, and I got my copper IUD taken out. And I got my copper IUD taken out because I went to ceremony for the first time 4 hours deep in the Colombian jungle. And in maybe my third ceremony ever with the medicine of Yahe, a voice of a female elder said, "You have a foreign metal object in your body. You must take this out and learn the wise womb ways around pregnancy prevention that all of your ancestors knew. Like, it is time." And so while I was already off of like hormonal birth control, the pill, I still had that copper IUD in. And that Yahe came in real quick and was like, this is against the laws of nature. And I say that really firmly because my teacher, Abuelo Kirawin, who I've spoken about probably in every episode of this show, made it really clear to me, like, why do we drink ayahuasca? Why do we drink yahe? And there were 5 reasons that he gave me. I won't go through all 5. You can listen to other podcast episodes if you want to hear those. But the one that I really, really tried to walk in alignment with is we drink yahe to come back into right relationship with the laws of nature. That is why we drink this medicine. It is not for ego. It is not for all the feathers. It's not for all the necklaces. It's not for your Instagram posts to be like a shaman influencer. The reason we drink this medicine is to come into right relationship with the laws of nature. And I know that for me as a woman, coming into right relationship with the laws of nature meant coming into right relationship with my womb, with my fertility, with my blood, with my whole hormonal matrix, with my body, with my breasts, with my belly, my vagina, my vulva, my pelvis. Every single part of that was my deepest healing. And so while the Yahe was like helping to orient that for me, it didn't do the work for me. What did the work for me was recognizing, like, what kind of woman do I want to be in the world? How am I going to walk with my own medicine of womanhood through this world? How am I going to reorient my lineage? How am I going to walk into a space with other women who I know are also really, really suffering with so much distortion? And to not tell them what they're doing wrong, not tell them how they should be doing better, just walk in with the essence that I carry, and to have that be like almost like a little homeopathic dose in the space of women being like, wait, why is she doing so well? She was really bad before and something has shifted. What is it? And, slowly having women wake up to like, I can reclaim that birthright too. I can reclaim that as well. And then when you step into any kind of space where you're going to be working as a practitioner in whatever avenue, like for you, it's chiropractic school. For me right now, it's deep into like birth work and women's reproductive care and womb wisdom. If you're going into acupuncture, if you're going into, herbalism, anything like that, exactly what you spoke to, you're going to be having women who are coming in who were gaslit, who were miseducated, who are honestly experiencing like levels of medical malpractice. And so it's not just the deep physiologic and anatomical work and biological work, physical work of like, okay, how do we just get what you were speaking to, like nutrition, minerals, like herbs that can support you, plants? How do we call in like all of those natural medicines spending time in nature, sunlight, circadian rhythm. How do we address that first so that you feel at peace in your body? And then how can we meet you in this intense unraveling of, on it's a strong word to say, but I'll say it, like propaganda, like really, really pulling you away from the laws of nature and pulling you towards all of these distortions that are telling you that to be a woman, you don't get to be connected to your womb, that your womb is something that you shut off, that you silence, that you ignore, that you just like are severed from, and it's not important. When in reality, as I said earlier, it is the oracle, it is the compass, it is your orientation of life. It is like the most sacred thing that you could place on your altar is your fucking womb, right? And so, I love what you're speaking to so much, like, privately and publicly, just around what is your walk going to be? Are you going to sit here and talk about, oh, I'm going to help all these people be in alignment with their bodies, blah, 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 but then you're shut off from your own body, you're disconnected, you're numb, you're silenced, you're muted while working with hormonal birth control in your system and synthetic hormones? Or are you really going to be a woman who walks the walk and not just like talks about it, you know?
Yeah, thank you. That was juicy. um yeah, I think what can be really intimidating for women, certainly what was intimidating for me, is that there is no education. And where do you start? And it's overwhelming. And a lot of women wait until they get to a crisis, or it takes a crisis, like a healing crisis, for them to be like, whoa, something needs to change, right? um I know that for me, and I think I really sort of like blanketed over my experience of like, I got off birth control and started drinking yahe, and now here I am becoming a doctor, but like there was so much in between and so much that led me to becoming somebody that's going to advocate for like this paradigm shift, right? Because it is a paradigm shift. Like you mentioned the word propaganda, for sure there's a lot of propaganda, and there's like a subconscious paradigm shift that has to happen for people, that I think has happened for me over the past 10, almost 11 years of working with plant medicine, which is like, my body is self-healing, actually, if I treat it the right way. And if I walk a good walk and I give her what she needs, and I, not just on a physical level, and it has taken me a crisis, like several crises, to learn how to care for myself in the way that I need to, and to get into right relationship with my womb and with my cycle. I can remember maybe a year or two into my work with the Yahe, I went through this just like earth shattering heartbreak, just to this day, like the worst breakup I've ever been through. And I didn't get my cycle for almost a year. She just hibernated. She was like, nope, I'm sad. And that was, to me, it made me realize that our cycle is more than just physical. Like, yeah, it is a good physical biomarker. Like, it's sort of your health report card that you get every month, for sure. And like I was saying before, it's so intimately connected with who we be. And so I didn't get my cycle for almost a year after going through this breakup. And then I would get it, but it would come early or late. And it was just kind of all over the map. And I went to go get a hormone panel, and they kind of just told me, like, yeah, your hormones are out of whack. Okay, have a nice day. And I was kind of like, wait, you're a doctor? Like, aren't you gonna, like, what do I do? I'm 24, 25 years old, and this shouldn't be happening. Like, if this is happening now, what's it going to be like later? Like, what do I do? And that was the moment where it was like, it's up to me. Like, I have to figure this out. And, I would get acupuncture here and there. I've always been into chiropractic, so I would get my adjustments, but it really took me honing into like, what does my body need? If I know that my hormones are out of control, what's in charge of my hormones in here? And how do I nourish that part of me? And if I also know now, after going through this like bleed withdrawal after this breakup, now that I know that my womb is not just a physical biomarker for me, it's like a mental, emotional, spiritual biomarker, then like, how am I caring for myself like on all of these many dimensions of health, right? So, yeah, it's really been a journey and it is intimidating when you start. I think the hardest part is realizing that something needs to change. That's the hardest part because no one, like I said, is educated on what to do. Luckily, there's all kinds of luckily there's all kinds of people on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube that are all talking about this. There's all kinds of books written about it. 10, 15 years ago, when I was going through all of this, there were no infographics. No one was talking about PCOS or sluggish livers or herbs or anything. I had to figure all of that out. And I'm so glad I did, but it was a lot of work. And so, just, the women that are doing the work to get themselves in right relationship with their womb have a responsibility to help other women to do that because it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. And no one hands it to us, right? It's something that we have to seek out for ourselves. And it takes discipline. It takes a paradigm shift. Like my life looks completely different than it did back then. And it took a lot of bravery and discipline. And for me, yeah, hey, like not everyone, it's not for everyone, that's for sure. But for me, I feel really blessed that I've had this sort of compass for me to, I start to learn when something is off. And I've become very sensitized to, yeah, just things that can influence me and my cycle and my womb.
Love everything you spoke to, and something that was coming up as you were speaking, not getting your bleed for a whole year after a breakup. Totally normal, actually. Not like healthy necessarily, but also quite intelligent. The way that the body was like, I am not in a space to carry life. I'm devastated. I am heart shattered, heart obliterated. No way in hell would I be able to call in a child right now. So I'm going to do a very intelligent protective measure around my power, right? That's the first thing that came to me. I was like, wow, the body is so intelligent. It's actually really intelligent. And the way that you could pathologize that or diagnose that is like she's broken, something's wrong, she needs to be fixed, versus her body's brilliant. It knows what it's doing. And also, bodies are resilient and they know how to come back online when we start deciding, like, okay, I am going to choose life and not just the life of a child. I'm going to choose my life. I'm going to choose myself. I'm going to choose to come home. And it was something that I was also thinking about a couple years ago, actually, when I was living in the jungle. I was working with this woman who, she reached out to me, and not to share too much of her story, but essentially her sister went through a very, very horrendous sexual violation that occurred. Really horrendous. And she was just like, Claire, I am so angry. I like can't even explain to you how heartbroken and angry I am for my sister. It has been so bad that I have not gotten my period for 3 months. Like I can't bleed. And I was like, yeah, at that point, I hadn't really put all of the parts together, but something in that made sense to me. I was like, well, yeah, that's your sister. That you guys shared a womb, you share blood, you share cells. Like, of course, this is affecting you because our wombs are not separated. Like, amongst our sisters, our blood family, but like the collective womb consciousness is not an individual endeavor. It is work that we all do on our own, that as you were speaking to, like you have to make this like the highest prayer and commitment to yourself of like, I will not abandon my body anymore. And also, we are at a point where there is so much more information, there is more education. And I would say that that can sometimes make it feel even more overwhelming because you're just scrolling TikToks and you're like, oh my God, everything's wrong, everything's wrong. How do I figure this out? And that is where I feel that the community piece is so lacking. That's why I wanted to offer a group class with this, because I've been working one on one with women for years. And what I'm really feeling is so missing just from the world in general, but especially the collective womb consciousness is like women were never meant to do this alone. We're brilliant, we are resourceful, we are intelligent, we are capable. I did figure out how to do a lot of this on my own. I did, just like you. Most women have to because they get to a point of crisis in one way or another, usually severe illness and burnout and just health like breakdown, right? That is what happened for me. I was forced into figuring this out, and I did. And then I also, at a certain point, did reach out to teachers and mentors that could guide me along the path. And I did receive like higher level, practitioner level education around it. Stuff that was like new information for me, but most of it was just figuring out how to translate what I had been doing internally and be like, oh, that's how I can speak on that to other women. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, got it. Parts falling into place, right? And that's this whole thing with this class that I'm going to be teaching is like, it is a collective womb prayer more than anything. It's a class. We're going to be on Zoom, but for me, it is ceremony. It is coming into circle in the ways that women have been doing since the very beginning of time. And it is truly this prayer of coming together and being witnessed and held and celebrated at whatever phase of the journey that you're on. If you're currently on the pill or with the injection or with an IUD and you're like, I know that something's off. I know that this isn't how I want to be living my life, but I just don't really know what to do. But maybe there's something here for me. You're welcome in the space. If you're a woman who got off of birth control, hormonal birth control, IUD, and you had like a fuck ton of hormonal issues that you still can't figure out and you have no way to bring your health back into alignment, this class is for you. If you're a woman who's been off of birth control for a really long time, but you still don't maybe really know how to track your cycle, like you don't really know when your fertility, your fertile window is during your cycle, you're still a little bit confused about like, when is my bleed gonna come? When is it not? This class is for you. If you're a woman who does know that stuff, but you don't necessarily know like how to work with herbs to prevent an unplanned pregnancy during that golden window of like 2 weeks between ovulation and your bleed, this class is for you. If you're a woman who kind of has been doing all of this stuff for a long time, but maybe you do want to start stepping into supporting other women, this class will give you like some good basics that you can pass along to your community members as well. That's really what my goal and intention with this class is, to have women back together again in a space where it's not just you alone, like furiously Googling, how to figure this out. Because that's not how we were supposed to relate to our bodies. We're supposed to relate to our bodies with that collective womb energy interweaving with us and empowering us and bringing us back into our remembrance of like, oh, there's my power. It's been there all along. I just forgot, and that's okay because humans are silly and we forget things all the time. And also, humans are brilliant and we know how to get back on track. And sometimes we just need some support and some community and some witnessing and some ceremony. So, that is all going to be starting October 5th. It is a 3-class series. October 5th is all about transitioning off of hormonal birth control, IUDs, contraception, all that good stuff. Second class on October 12th is going to be all about learning how to work with a method that I would consider like biointuitive fertility tracking. It's a little bit different from a fertility awareness method, but also very similar. And then the last class on October 19th is going to be all about plants for pregnancy prevention, developing your own relationship with the herbs that you would call upon so that it's not from a place of like urgency and emergency, but that you have a relationship with these plants, that you know them, that your body can translate them as, okay, I can call upon these when I know that my bleed is going to come. And that way you develop even more trust in yourself. You deepen your relationship with your elemental teachers, your elemental ancestors, your master teachers in that way. And then you can move through the world with a lot more freedom and a lot more ease and a lot more peace. So, all of that is going to be available for $33. You get access to all 3 live classes, lifetime access to the recordings, and then also my very, very extensive resource guide as well. So, all of that is going to be in the show notes. Claire, do you have anything else you want to share with listeners before we wrap up?
Yeah, thank you. As you were speaking just now, it's challenging to speak to, but what I want to say is that, you know, taking back your power and learning to care for your womb in this way, like you said, also gets you in touch with your elemental teachers, the plants, the earth, and like those two things, healing those two things, the feminine and our relationship with the earth, they're not separate. That's the same healing that needs to happen, you know? Like I have understood it on deeper and deeper levels kind of over the years with the medicine, which is that like the abuse of the feminine and of women and sort of severing our connection with our womb and our natural rhythms is the same as the environmental abuse that we're seeing happening on the planet right now. We're cutting ourselves off from our true power. And so this is such a tremendous opportunity that you're giving us to reclaim all of that and take our power back and feel empowered and share that together and have resources to share with the other women in our life. And I'm just so grateful for you. Thank you for your work. And I hope I get to hug you one day.
Yeah. Thank you. That feels like the perfect note to end on. Like the work that we do internally as women echoes through the entire external world. And it's so easy for us to be like, save the earth, save the waters, save the territories. Like, yes, of course. But one, the earth does not need saving. The earth requires stewardship. Stewardship is really different. Stewardship is relational. And so, with the relationality that we come to the land and the waters with, that we come to the fire and the wind with, all of that love that we're pouring out, women have to learn to pour back in first. When we are not well, no one else is well. No one in our family systems are well. No one in our communities are well. All of the territories that we have the blessing and responsibility to steward will not be well if women are not well. We have to start with ourselves first. We have to. And this is like a very small way to begin and also a huge way to begin. Like I feel like that with this class. It is like such a small thing and such a big thing, and it is massive and teeny tiny, and there's so much work to be done, and we're doing it step by step. There's so much time for us to do this. So thank you so much, Claire, for coming onto the show. Many, many blessings for all of your path forward. Thank you for all the wisdom and medicine that you shared. I'm really excited for listeners to hear this.
Thank you so much. I hope it's not the last time we get to chat.